Hi guys, welcome back to the Royalties, a channel where we discuss business, investment, entrepreneurship, and all things lifestyle. So for today's episode, we are going to be discussing three main things that they taught you wrong about starting your own business and being an entrepreneur today. I think it's really important that we discuss these matters because if these misconceptions, stereotypes, and myths are the one that is really stopping you from starting your own business and chasing your dream, then it is just a huge PT. Before we get into today's episode, let's just take 1 second to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps out with the channel more than you can ever imagine, and it's free and I really appreciate it. So let's take that 1 second right now. That is 3 seconds and 3 times more than the time that was promised, and I really hope that's the case for the value that this channel is going to bring to you as well. And with that out of the way, let's get right into it. So entrepreneurs are really the new heroes of the business today. We grew up listening to stories such as Steve Jobs, Jack Ma, Mark Zuckerberg, people that created billion-dollar company because they changed the world and impact on how we live on a day-to-day basis. But with all these success stories sort of hogging the headlines, we see that many information platforms, channels, experts, social media, sort of teams that jump on board the trend to share their thoughts and thinking. And over time, as we consume this content and we discuss it with our parents, our partner, our colleagues, friends, we sort of have this preset notion about entrepreneurs that may not be super accurate. And some of the pointers that I'm going to share later comes from the Harvard Business Review on entrepreneurship and startups. It's not a sponsored video by whatever means. I just thought that it was a very interesting read, backed by statistics, and I hope you get a little value from the video. If you don't have time to sort of read the book, I'm going to be discussing some of the pointers that I learned from here. And with that, let's get into the three main myths about entrepreneurs today. And you confirm got heard this one before. The first most common misconception about being an entrepreneur is that entrepreneurs are risk-loving and risk-seeking. I think that is fairly inaccurate because the better way to put it should be entrepreneurs should be comfortable with risk and not risk-loving. So if you are not risk-loving, you don't have to worry about the fact that you cannot do your own business because you don't like seeking risk. I think that is a huge difference between risk-loving and comfortable with risk. I think one good example will be using a game of blackjack. So one important option about a blackjack game, if you play in a casino, you will know that you always have the option to sort of double down on your bet. So for example, you're betting $2 on one hand after you are being dealt the first two hands and looking at one of the dealer face-up card, you can decide if you want to double down on your bet. Right, so that is a very important point that you should take note of, and it will really help with the example of being risk-loving and comfortable with risk. So, for example, a risk-loving person will walk to a casino, bet $100 on one hand, and no matter what cards they are dealt with, and what cards the dealer is showing, they'll be like, yeah, I want to double down the bet because I just love the thrill of being able to win more money, and I think I will get lucky, and that is risk loving. That means you don't really care about the probability of winning, just like the thrill of sort of doubling down, and more things are sort of at risk, and you love that adrenaline, you love that feeling, that is risk seeking. So for entrepreneurs, they are comfortable with risk. Same example will be used is that if you are dealt two cards, one is a 5, one is a 6, that adds up to be 11. So note that in blackjack, if you get a value of 21, that will be the highest in the game possible. So, and the dealer is showing a 6. So at this point in time, the probability of winning the dealer is 64%. I think to be accurate is 63.5%. But you have a 64% chance of winning the dealer in that particular scenario. And in that case, you should be doubling down your bet. Even though there is a good 35% chance that you might still lose to the dealer, you should double down your bet because you have a higher chance of winning. And you are comfortable with that risk. So I think that is a good example to sort of illustrate the difference between just a risk-loving person and someone who is comfortable in putting in the money, not pumping the brakes where the odds are in your favor, and you are comfortable in sort of making that decision. So if you are not risk-loving, and that has been stopping you from starting your own business because you think you're not cut out for entrepreneurship just because you don't seek risk. The thing that you should be asking yourself is, are you comfortable with risk? And some of the guiding questions that I ask myself will be, how do I thrive under uncertainty, and do I dare to really sort of go ahead with a project even though there is a chance that it might go wrong, but after working out the numbers and coming up with the plans, it seems that it's a good bet. I think if you like that kind of scenario, and if you are not afraid of sort of pushing the go ahead button when that sort of scenario appears in front of you, then you are comfortable with risk, and that is a really important aspect of being an entrepreneur. And definitely not just risk loving, like woo roller coaster woo. No, that is one of the things that I learned by speaking to so many successful entrepreneurs in Singapore, that they aim to actually minimize risk in every step of the business plan, in every step of the way. So that should be the correct way to thinking about risk, and that you should be comfortable with risk and not just risk loving. So if you are not risk loving, you still have a chance, and don't let this stop you from starting your own business and chasing your dream. So the second biggest misconception about being an entrepreneur is that you have to have a lot of money to start your own business. I know you are thinking of this one because this is the most common reason that I hear from people when I ask them, why are they not starting their own business? They say they will just say that I don't have enough money, or starting a business is only for rich people. I think the point that you really should be asking yourself is that, why do you need so much money to start whatever you are trying to do? Right? Unless you're telling me that I want to create a tech company, I need a full-time 6 developer team to really build this software, then in that case, yes, you might need some capital. But for most of the time, it is really okay and feasible to start small. I'll use the example of starting a F&B business or starting a cafe, which is what most people really is dreaming about. And for those type of business, you really can start small, right? You should start to test out the market. You should start by asking your friends or selling to your friends, do they really like your product? And then you start to know the market, you know how to set your selling price, you know how to go about serving your customer better by starting small. And in that case, you don't need a huge capital outlay, and that shouldn't be the number one reason that is stopping so many of you from starting a business. So starting a business small can also be part-time, right? Meaning you don't have to give up your job entirely, your paycheck, just to sort of accomplish this dream. You can certainly start small, and who knows, you might not even like it at the end of the day. Like for myself, I had a full-time job for 3 years, and in that 3 years I sort of run this F&B restaurant with other partners to sort of really to learn the ropes about doing F&B, how do I manage the supply chain, the inventory, how do I hire people, and all this started from a part-time basis. That is really just a few hours of my time every day, and more time over the weekend, right? You can definitely start by crafting out a business plan of how you can do it part-time, and if you are getting enough attention, enough sales, then you sort of think about how to transit into full-time. And if you have a dream, or if you have a business plan that you aim to sort of do, feel free to comment down below. I will try my best to answer that in the most comprehensive way, to see if I can help you start your own business, or by helping you start craft your first business plan. So that is myth number 2, is that you have to have a lot of money to start your own business. You should be thinking, how can you start small, and then how to scale it up eventually, sort of replace your full-time income and become the next Steve Jobs. So the last point that I'm making today about the common myths about being an entrepreneur is that entrepreneurs are perceived to be ambitious and very creative. I think a better way to think about it would be that entrepreneurs need not to be super ambitious or creative, but they're actually driven by a need to sort of own the product or the project, right? That sense of ownership for the product is what drives them to work so hard, rather than thinking that entrepreneurs just have great vision and nothing at all to sort of achieve their sort of vision. And you must have heard this, that entrepreneurs like to describe things that these are like my babies, I love them, I cherish them, I really want to do things that are actually owned by me, and I drive the sort of like the main direction and the strategy behind that project. Entrepreneurs feel the need to be in the center of a circle, owning the product, rather than atop of a pyramid, to sort of just overseeing things and not doing anything on the ground. So yes, I think a better way to sort of assess and ask yourself, do you feel a need, and do you take initiative at your workplace, or do you like sort of owning things, discussing like the main strategy, and then getting on the ground to sort of accomplishing it and doing it by yourself and your team. And if that drives you, and you're more entrepreneur than you think you are, and that shouldn't stop you from doing your own business and chasing your dream right now. So thank you once again so much for watching. My name is Royal. I really hope today's video could sort of bring some value to you. Please take 1 second again to sort of hit that like and subscribe button and share it with your friends. It really means a lot to me. And comment down below if you have any questions. I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. And welcome once again to Royalties, a channel where we discuss business, investment, entrepreneurship, and all things lifestyle. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.